video podcast about my passions for yarn and knitting. My name is Ina and I'm coming to you from Norway, where I live with my family. And if you have watched before, you might notice that I got a different background today, or backdrop. That is due to the fact that my 5-year-old son, he is currently with me, and he is playing with his iPad in the living room next door. And yeah, it is summer solstice today, and in my part of the world that means that the evenings are super bright and the sun isn't setting until like 11:30 in the evenings, and it is away for about 3.5 hours, and it is up again at 3 a.m. So it's a bit difficult for us to get early enough to bed nowadays. But it is a lovely time of the year, and I have spent quite a lot of time in my garden the past weeks. I also have 3 tomato plants and 3 cucumber plants indoors, and they have gotten so tall. My tomato plants have reached the ceiling and they are standing in large buckets on the floor. And we have started harvesting tomatoes and cucumbers already, and that's such a delight to be able to eat vegetables that one have grown themselves. So that is cool. And we also have started to get some salads from the garden. We have a small kitchen garden, where we have some different kinds of vegetables like carrots and broccoli and beans and salad and some other stuff. Beetroot, that's the English word for it. We love beetroot. And it has been a very busy time at work and at school for my eldest 2 eldest girls. They have just finished 7 years of school, and the eldest one 10 years of school, and she just graduated from what do you call it? Ungdomsskole in Norwegian, but she just finished her first 10 years of school, so that's a big happening here. But now it's summer break and they are home from school, and the days are much quieter and for all of us. So that is very, very, very nice. And it seems like it's a bit difficult for me to get back into the bi-weekly podcasting routine, and it will probably be like this for at least the next month, or maybe a bit longer than that as well. But I really hope from August on that I can get back to the schedule that I used to have, because I missed podcasting so much, and I really look forward to now talk to you again about my knitting, because my knitting is very much back in my hands, so to speak. I had quite a break from my knitting during a couple of months earlier this spring, but it is definitely back now. The mojo is alive and I have quite a lot to show you. So let's just jump in, shall we? I have actually 4 finished objects to show you, and I have 3 things that are currently on my needles, and all of them are new things, so that's quite exciting. And I also have some new stash to show, and I know that last time I said quite clearly that I was on a yarn diet and I wasn't supposed to buy any more new yarn for a while. But then a little yarn festival nearby happened and I just had to get a couple of goodies. And the rest of the things I'm going to show you are actually gifts and things that I have received previously, and I could have shown you last episode, but that episode was going to be too long, so I decided to save it for now. Alright, let's start off with finished objects. I was actually planning to wear my first finished objects from the beginning of this episode, but it was way too hot in here. It is a bit like the humid hot afternoon when it has been raining quite a lot the past 3 days, and suddenly today the sun got back out, and it was creating this very you almost feel sweaty because it's so humid and hot at the same time. But anyway, this is the shift cowl, and I just got it on my needles last episode, and now it is finished. And this is a cowl designed by Andrea Mowry, and it was a yarn kit that I bought at the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. It was especially put together for the festival, and the yarn is from Spincycle yarns, and it is sport weight, and I'll put the name of the yarn on the screen because I can't recall. But I love the design of this cowl. It is absolutely beautiful, I think. It has this very nice textured pattern, and now I really hope that it is going to focus, because I have another camera this time, and I think I have I can't find my regular camera. It is probably up in our cabin, so I had to pull out an old camera, so fingers crossed the quality will be fine. So the texture pattern, it's quite easy to knit, but I can't say too much about the pattern because it's a paid for pattern. But the pattern requires 3 skeins of yarn, and each of them needs to have, or don't need to have, but each of them have a color gradient color. It's shifting color very slowly, and but you only use 2 of the balls every at a time. And then you switch them up, so you create this very nice transition between the different colors in the balls. Yeah. And I really love these colors together. I think they're absolutely beautiful and just my cup of tea. So I have been wearing this shawl every possible occasion since I finished it, and it's probably 2 or 3 weeks since I finished it. It was a very pleasant knit as well. Went by quite fast. So I definitely can recommend this beautiful pattern, the Shift Cowl. The second finished object is a pair of socks, and these are made out of a sock blank from Ulltøsene, and Ulltøsene consists of 2 very creative and lovely ladies from Oppdal, which is quite nearby where I live. And this sock blank was hand painted, and it showed a couple of 3 sheep with some hills and yeah, green background. And I really loved it, and I definitely enjoyed knitting up the sock blank. And it was a 50-gram sock blank, so I just about got 1 pair of socks out of it. And that was with contrasting heels and toes. And I used our Weta classic sock yarn for the heels and toes. And I really like them. I think the combination of the green sock blank yarn and the very pale pink contrast is so beautiful. So I'll definitely keep these for myself. I love them. I also finished the other pair of socks that I had on the needles last time, and that was the Mercury Socks. And I also enjoyed knitting the Mercury socks, but I don't know. I don't think I enjoyed it so much that I want to repeat it immediately. I need to like wait a little while before I cast on another pair of this pattern. But I like how they turned out. I have used KnitPicks Stroll tweed, and I don't recall the name of the colorway, but it is a very red brownish color. And I also just had 1 50-gram ball of the stroll, so I had to use some contrasts for heels, cuffs and toes. And the contrast is a Walk collection, and it is their standard sock yarn, and the color is called dried roses. I think it's super beautiful. I'm so pleased with the combination of the main color and the contrast in this pair as well. And they turned out a little bit too small for me, a bit too snug for my feet, so I will put this pair in the gift box and give them away. The last finished object I have is actually a finished object that I could have shown you last time, but I totally forgot. And It is a basket, and I believe that this was one of the works in progress that I showed you in, I think it was an episode in January or February, where I just I had a whip parade to share, and I think I showed you like 14 or 15 different whips or UFOs, and this was one of the UFOs that is super old. And I started knitting this basket. Yeah, I think it's maybe as much as 10 or maybe even older than 10 years ago. And it is knitted out of worsted weights, 100% untreated wool. I believe it is PT3, which is a Norwegian brand from Rauma. And I got up to about, I think it was up to here somewhere. Or maybe, no, I was just finished with the grey, and I had originally more of the grey yarn to create an even higher basket. But I had used it for something else, and instead of trying to buy more grey yarn, I thought that I might just finish off the basket with some contrasting yarn. And so I did. So I just knit a few rounds with a very, very pale pink, and then I put it into the washer and felted it 2 or 3 times in the washing machine. And I really like it. It stands up nicely on its own, and I can even fold down the edges if I want to. And currently it holds a lot of my mini skeins, and these are skeins from Herpsplatter Gina. I got a lot of minis from her through a club last year, and also my advent calendars, and yeah, some other goodies. I have so many lovely minis, and I'm really urging to start a new mini skein or scrappy project of some kind very, very soon, because these are too delicious to look at. I love them so much, and I loved putting together scrappy projects. So yeah, I now are going to move on to whips, things that are currently on my needles. So the first thing on my needle is from this lovely book, which is Stephen West's Best Knits No. 2 Sweaters, and it is the Penguono, and I have been drooling over this jacket for quite some time. I really love it, but I'm not a very big fan of the color combinations that's shown here and that you see many examples of on Ravelry. So I had to think a lot before I cast it on my own, because I really wanted it to be a bit more Ina-like in the style of how the colors are appearing. Not like crazy, no rule. That's not something I would likely wear. So I pulled out, I don't know, it must be at least 2 or 3 kilos of different kinds of yarn in here. And I started the Penguono. So this is how far I am. This is the back panel, and I have used 3 threads of fingering or lace weight yarn throughout, and one of the strands are a very fine or thin silk merino, and strand number 2 is mostly 100% thin wool like fingering weight wool, and strand number 3 is either fingering weight untreated wool or some thin silk wool of some kind, or like single merino of some kind. So I will use some different combinations there. So this is the back panel, and then you have the welts on the side, which I was quite unsure about, but I actually thought about skipping them, but yeah, in the end I decided to go for them, and I tried to create a kind of a no, not fading, but a gradual change of color from the back panel to the side panel. So the arm is supposed to come over here. So I think that the rest of this coat or jacket will continue in approximately the same colors. I also have prepared the shoulder flaps. It's quite a mess up in my bag here, but these are the shoulder flaps, and they will they will come up here. It's so difficult to show, but yeah. And then I will create the arms here. Yeah, I really like this, and it's a very nice knit because it's mainly garter stitch, and that means that I can work on this and watch the news or a film or something like that in parallel. But that also means that I have done a couple of errors, and I put up a photo of the first error on Instagram because, I don't know, I just found it hilarious. I think it just proves that my mind wasn't in this project at all when I managed to do that mistake. But then I ripped back the part that was wrong and I started over. It wasn't a big deal because it was just 3 or 4 rounds. And then I continued and I casted off or bound off or finished off the front panels, and I was very happy about that. And then I was going to start with the shoulder laps and seam together the shoulder to the front and the back. And then I discovered another mistake. Can you see it? So this is where the front is going to be, and I actually managed to do the decreases on the bottom instead of on the top. Incredible. So I think that I might need to be a bit more focused when I continue with this jacket. Otherwise, I need to rip back and spend a lot more time on it than I otherwise would have to do. Anyway, I still like it, but I had to take a small break from it after mistake number 2. And that was when I casted on the next project, which is yet another garment. And that is the Ranunculus Sweater. You know Ranunculus? Those beautiful flowers. They are one of my absolute favorites. Reminds me of my childhood garden where I grew up. And this is a super easy knit, but also it looks so fancy and nice due to the pattern. And one of my friends at work just knit one of them, or knit her version of that sweater, and it was beautiful. So I just had to cast on myself, and I decided to use this yarn, which is Suri alpaca from Sandnesgarn, and it is baby alpaca, but it's very light and fluffy. And because of that yarn, it's, well, you can see the pattern, but it's a bit more muted, so to speak. But you still see the lace, don't you? And the project really flies by because I use such large needles. It is 6mm needles, and yeah, I think this is 2 days or 2 evenings worth of knitting time. So it's a very fast project. And I'm planning to knit the sleeve version, this one. Mainly because the alpaca will be a bit warm, and it will probably be a sweater for the colder months of the year, and then I think it's more practical with arms. So, but super excited about the sweater, and I really like it. And I am now at the point that I'm going to start the raglan increases and soon be separating for sleeves. I have to take a small break and go and grab my last work in progress. Yeah. My last working project is a pair of socks. I just recently finished the other socks that I had on the needles, and I obviously had to cast on another pair. So these are a pair of KnitPicks Felici socks, and I have had a couple of takes on the pattern of these socks because I originally wanted to knit a lace pattern, but it didn't feel right. I think it was the combination of the yarn, the needles and my tension that wasn't feeling as it should. So I have ripped back a couple of times back to the ribbing, and then I just started over with kind of a broken rib pattern. And this is the colorway Tea Party, and it was a yarn that was sent from a yarn that was sent to me from sweet Joanne in Canada. So really enjoyed the yarn. Thank you so much, Joanne. And the pair is living in a beautiful project bag that I also got from Joanne, and it is a project bag made by Sandy by the Lakeside, and she also is Canadian. Such a treat. I love it so much, with a sweet pink tassel. Yeah, now over to acquisitions. I got some things here to show you. Oh, so many treats. I think I will start off with the oldest acquisition, and this is a very nice package that I received from Sanna from Finland, and she sent me a bunch of tuku wool, which is a Finnish yarn brand, or I think it is. Pardon me if I'm wrong. But such beautiful colors. And this is 100% natural, untreated wool. And I got this hank with an undyed white and a lot of super nice small balls with different colors. And frankly, I can't wait to start knitting with this yarn. But I feel that I need to have the right pattern, you know what I mean? I really want to use a lot of these beautiful colors, and yeah, maybe they will become a pair of mittens if I use the white as a main color and then find a pattern that allows me to switch between different colors as contrasts. That might be the one that I will go for. So thank you so much, Sanna. I really appreciated that gift. And I also got some really yummy teas of the Moomin brand, and they are all gone. They were delicious. Rooibos tea, I believe it was. And yeah, then I have a prize to show you that I won in a knit-along, not contest, but I was chosen as a winner, and that was for the Iris Shrug cowl knit-along. That's Amy's Little Kingdom and Wooden Nest arranged in December and January. And I got this yarn, yeah, it is several weeks ago. And this is a beautiful yarn that was dyed from avocado pits. And this is a Aran worsted BFL. It has a quite pale tan color. And then this is tweed base of superwash merino, and it is dyed with madder. And both of them are dyed by Lindsay, who has the A Wooden Nest podcast. So thank you so much both to Amy and Lindsay for that very special prize. And then I had my birthday in the beginning of May, and I was so fortunate to get a very special gift from my friend Daisy for that birthday, and that was 4 of those balls of Navia brushed tradition, and it is 100% Faroe wool, which is wool from sheep living on the Faroe Island. And that was such a special gift, because Daisy, she is from the Faroe Island, although she's living in Norway, and I am working together with her and has her as a special knitting friend as well. And this is a super rustic wool, and it will be perfect for a kofte or a knitting jacket, and I will probably use it for a kofte, because I got 4 of these and they are each 300 meters, so it will be enough for a kofte with some kind of a pattern or contrast pattern, maybe on the yoke. So I will save them until I know exactly which jacket to knit. Last weekend I was visiting Trondheim, which is the city closest to me here in Norway, and in Trondheim there was a knitting festival or yarn festival, which were arranged for the first time, and it was called Trondheim Strikk. And I had to go, obviously, but my little assistant, my son, he was with me, and my daughters. But my daughters, they are 16 and 13 years old, so they just went to the closest shopping mall and ran off there with my Visa card. And then I had to bring my little son with me to the knitting festival, and that meant that I just had about 15 or 20 minutes inside the place where it was held, and he was constantly asking me when we could leave and do other stuff and eat ice cream. So it was a bit difficult for me to concentrate on the goodies and all the nice things that were inside. But I managed to grab a couple of things. And firstly, I went straight to Patricia of the Knitography's booth, because I have been drooling over these mitten blockers for such a long time. She is making these super beautiful blockers out of, I guess it's some kind of thin plywood, and they have the Selbu pattern on them, and these are perfect for mittens of my size. They are just the right size according to Patricia. And I can't wait to knit myself a pair of, Selby mittens or some kind of mittens and to try them for the first time. And they are so decorative as well. I could hang these on the wall and it would be super nice. Just look at them hanging there. I also grabbed with me some what do you call them? It is one progress keeper and the rest is stitch markers. Also with the Selby pattern on them. Super cute. And the last booth that I managed to grab something from was Nina Petrina's booth. And she is dyeing up these beautiful gradients sets. And they consist of fingering weights, Norwegian lamb's wool. And she calls this gradient rødvin or red wine. You can probably see why. And if you saw my last episode with my yarn haul from the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, it isn't a surprise why I went for this color, is it? Oh, I have too much yarn in deep red burgundy now. Yeah, but I think it's so nice. It is so nice. And these sets are made for a particular gradient shawl that she has designed. But if I add some more yarn, I could make it last for a sweater or a jacket or something like that. So I'm not 100% sure what this will become, but we shall see. And in the meantime, it will hang like this on the wall just beside my by the corner of the house where I got all my crafting stash. I mean, come on. This and this. It's just gorgeous. They can just hang like this. I think it's super nice. I love it. I still got one more thing to show you, and this is a yarn swap that I did with the lovely Meg. And I had talked about Meg before. She has the podcast called Wool and Honey. No, Wool and Cookies. And she sent me some absolutely gorgeous yarn from U Logo. And these two hanks are superwash merino, cashmere and nylon. And they are just gorgeous. And look at those colors. And she also sent me 2 balls of Patterns Cry in some kind of a self-striping colorway. They are also very fun. So thank you so much, Meg. I mean, yarn swaps are definitely the best swaps. So these were all the things I was planning to show you this time, and I am so anxious to see the footage of this episode because I don't have a self view on the camera, and I'm very excited to see if the things I showed you were in focus. Fingers crossed. So yeah, I'm leaving for vacation in about a week and a half. And yeah, we are actually going to visit England this year. That is super exciting. I'm going to the southwest part of England, and my parents have rented a holiday home, and we will be there together with them and my brother and his family. So we are super looking forward to that week together. And the rest of the summer will be spent at home or in our cabin in the mountains in Meråker. And yeah, I hope to get back to you with another episode. It will probably be right after my holiday to England. But before I let you go, I have to apologize to everybody who has commented on my past episode on YouTube, because I kind of forgot that like comments on YouTube existed for quite a while, and I haven't responded to anyone, I believe. I just, as I was setting up to record this episode, I just realized that I have been pretty rubbish at responding to everybody's comments, because I just forgot that they were there. I will go through everything, because I do so much appreciate that you are taking your time to comment and sending me feedback to my episodes. So thank you, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and that I will see you again in 2 or 3 weeks' time. Have a very lovely summer and happy knitting! Bye bye!